Hello, y'all. How you doing? I hope everything is going well. Welcome in our space. How you doing? I wanted to talk to you about something today, and it's very interesting to me. And it's dealing with neuroscientists and the answers they feel that they think they're bringing. But it's nothing more than ancient texts and what they have been saying about the brain and what we do since eons ago. First of all, neuroscience is nothing new. Just because you guys are now able to study it in a way that you couldn't study it before, it's not like you're inventing anything. You're not. But there's this guy named Chase Hughes who was created in NCI method. Now, I'm speaking on him because I've seen his shorts a couple of times, and every time I listen to him, I'm like, this is nothing new. He had one talking about creating reality, and if you create reality, then you're creating the good and the bad. Duh, I said that. He talks about you bring in what you're asking for and what you don't ask for because it's all quantum. I've said that. The thing that gets me though, and I have nothing against neuroscientists, it's just that neuroscientists come in and act like they have an answer for what chosens and star seeds have already known and have been doing for centuries without their research and without what they're saying. We've already been doing it. I guess you can kind of look at me as a person who's had to figure this out all themselves by looking at the patterns of life and getting there on my own without a neuroscientist's help. It's kind of like that information is a day late and a dollar short for me. For me. So the other thing, he had a message like, you asked me to write this to you. No, I didn't. Now, the quantum is funny in that when you call for something, it will show up. It may not show up in the way you asked for. He did not show up because I asked for him to, this is how I know. I would never consciously or subconsciously call someone like him to give me an answer because I don't like people with his type of personality. We just don't mesh. It's not a matter of me knowing him and I don't like him. No. His personality, I know. We don't mesh. I can tell you that. So, because of how my personality is. So, I would never call in someone like that to give me information. So, when I heard that from him, I laughed. And I'm like, oh, that follows the same thing of we chose to be here, which we did. But it's not the same. You may ask Cosmos in the universe and the quantum realm, send me a teacher who has X, Y, and Z. The choices are infinite. But then you get into entanglement, observer theory, and all these other kind of theories. It just moves a little bit differently to get an end result. So my point is, we had this talk before about if you really understood what makes changes in your life, you would be careful what you say, what you do, what you think. In every moment, you would be mindful of the frequency, amplitude, and wavelength that it has and that it brings about. You would be mindful of what you produce on the quantum in the consciousness, and you would be mindful to feel your intuition to understand what you're also bringing about in the subconscious, which is also the in-between space. Subconscious is not in-between space, but what I mean is, which is where some of your decisions lie in the in-between spaces that you don't understand, and only certain signs do. This leads also to this, because I told you science is not separate from spirituality. I took a DNA test. I'm not going to tell you where, but I took a DNA test. And I was looking at that. I was looking in particular at the traits, personality traits, intelligence traits, and stuff like that. And I was laughing because they had the ones dealing with my problem solving, my reasoning, how I see certain things that I do very, very well, extremely well, were low or intermediate. And I was laughing. I said, this is not true at all about me, despite what the DNA says. I said, this is interesting. Well, also keep in mind that you have to adjust to your environment based on what you're fed and what you have to experience. See, it's not just a matter of, and there's an argument, and it can be argued that you created everything. That's a motherfucking lie. Because you have energy that is outside of us that we don't deal with, but that deals with us. That is why I tell people all the time, okay? Yes, you create, it is you, right? But not everyone follows that. Oh, God will protect you. Not everyone follows that. Oh, the spirits won't mess with you. They love you. Not everyone follows all that shit. There are people whose spirits mess with consistently, fucking up their quantum. There are people who are supposed to have a choice, but because other spirits don't want them to have a choice because they don't have a choice, again, they fuck up their entanglement or other fucking things, thus feeding you thoughts, messing up your frequency, amplitude, and wavelength, and changing it for you. Which he talks about too, but not to that extent, not like that. Talks about it more scientifically speaking. My point is this. You create whatever comes up for you. You know this. When you are a child, you ask to be here and experience certain things, but as soon as environment hits you, there then are extraneous factors on the outside that influence your inside, and then what you produce on the outside. That's all quantum. Again, the matrix is mirrored under the subatomic particle levels of your DNA. It is exactly the fucking same. There is a reason why your cells and some your molecules follow a hexagonal pattern. That is the pattern of the universe mirrored into you. Okay? You are a mirror copy and image of this universe. And it's directly there underneath your DNA. It's right there attached. Energy is the electrical impulse flow and other energetic pulse flows. Because there's many different states of energy. That are constant motion, never static, constantly going. And as your frequency mixes with the frequency, amplitude, and wavelength of these other things, they get paired, coupled, or eliminated. The rules apply. But you already know the answers. And so now you got these beings coming up, these neuroscientists coming up, trying to save the fucking day and explain to you how your brain works. And I'm sitting up here looking like, I know this, and I found this out by myself, and I paid attention to the trends for me to know. I paid attention to people. I looked and see what was going on, and I read what's happening. Not a fucking book. I read what is happening real time compared to what it feels like to me and my intuition and what I know. And then I sit in silence to get the answer of what I already know, confirming or deconfirming. Yeah, I have a little attitude with these scientists. I do. Because again, for me, it's a day late and a dollar short. And every time I hear them now, it's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I've already been through that. I've already tested that theory. Yeah, I know. And I'm like, where the fuck y'all been? Well, we have the instrumentation now. We have, and it's been in the ancient texts. You're not saying anything new. You didn't find or create anything. Indian civilization, Southeast Asians had this. They know. Egypt had this. Kemet had this. They know. So Tibet had it. They know. So what's new about it? Oh, now we can read it. That's nice. All right, my love.